Hello and welcome to the Windows Active Directory Expert. If you're new to this channel, kindly go ahead and subscribe this channel. Like the videos and share the videos link with someone who really wants to scale up in the Active Directory. In the previous session, we have seen like how we can transfer the rules, FSMO rules, and what all FSMO rules we have in the Active Directory. So, and I explained you the scenario as well. In what scenario we transfer the FSMO rules. So in this recording session, as I promised in the previous session that I would be recording the another session for seizing the rules along with the scenario, the different scenario in which we seize the rules. Okay, so let's begin the today's session. Once again, thank you very much for coming to this channel. So let me open the MS Paint and I'll show you the uh, you know infrastructure that we have right now. So let me put this triangle and then one domain controller. So I got one domain controller within the contoso.com. So contoso.com is my forest name or domain name. Okay. So I got two domain controller. First one and both are server 2012 R2. Okay, so the first domain controller I got, it holds all five roles. All five roles. Remember what all five roles are? Schema, domain naming master, PDC emulator, RID master, infrastructure. So this particular domain A holds all five roles, wherein domain B did not have any single role available in this particular domain. Okay, so for seizing process, right? Seizing process, seize FSMO roles. So for seizing process, at what scenario, in which scenario we approach this seize FSMO roles. So in this demonstrations, I would be covering the scenario and of course the lab part as well. So hope your lab is with you and so that uh, as soon as I start doing the lab, you can parallelly perform the lab at your end as well. So the scenario would be like your FSMO holder server, right? Your FSMO holder domain controller is went down for some reason, some XYZ reason. This particular domain A is completely down and you haven't got an opportunity to transfer the roles to the domain B, domain controller B. So, and also like that particular, this A particular domain controller is no chance, there is no chance that this particular domain controller will ever come to come in the network. Okay, so it's completely dead and so you got only one option in one domain controller B. So sitting in the domain controller B, we have to seize the FSMO role. Okay, as I mentioned in the previous recording session that these five roles are so critical. If any one of the FSMO role like your PDC, RID, your schema, domain naming master is down, then the domain controller would not be able to perform the dedicated task for the FSMO roles. So suppose your schema holder domain controller is down, then you won't be able to modify any things in the attribute label. Okay, so let's go with the same same flow or the same diagram that I have. So let me jump into my domain controller. So let me log into my domain controller real quick for you. So if I type in the password, okay, perfect. So let's verify first like how many domain controllers I have. And these commands are very important when you go for the interview. These command you should be aware, right? They could or may ask this question like what is the command to show like how many domain controllers you have in the environment. So it's NL test dc list and then colon contoso.com. Okay, so as you can see, I got two domain controller within the contoso.com, and they both are in the same site, default file, first side name. So mail DC and win 191. You can see here this particular domain controller which I have selected right now. It's having all FSMO rules. So how you can check that? NetDome, it's query FSMO. You can enter that. So it will show you the FSMO role holder domain controller's name. Okay. So let's wait for that to populate the information. So sometime it takes a while to show you the result, right? To populate you the information, and it depends upon the your environment as well. If you have huge environment, if you have big environment, then this command usually take 5 to 7 or 6 second uh, to populate this information. So you can see here that domain naming master I got on the server win919 191. PDC is on the same domain controller, RID pool on the same domain controller, and infrastructure master is in same domain controller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down the mail DC, okay, which hold the schema master. Just for the practical purpose, I'm going to shut down this domain controller, and so that we can create the real scenario over here, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the mail.contoso.com. So let me type in the password. Okay, from here I'm going to right click and just shut down this particular domain controller. All right. So you can see my domain controller is shut down. So how I can verify whether the machine is reachable or not reachable? So type ping and then type this machine name or the complete FQDN of the machine. Okay, so you can see that I'm unable to ping this particular domain controller. Okay, so now this domain controller is not in a network anymore. Okay, it's not on network now. So just so now we have got the real scenario in which in one domain controller which holds the schema master role that is completely shut down at the moment. So just think of the real environment where your one domain controller which holds the schema master role is completely dead. Okay, and there is no any chance that server will ever come on the network. Okay, so we created that kind of scenario over here. So now what you have to do is you need to again go to the ntds util command prompts. ntds util. So there is a CLI option available in order to seize the roles. Okay. So there is no as such GUI option available in order to seize the roles. So we got this ntds util. So type here roles connection connection connect to. So connect to, it will be the working domain controller name here. Okay, connect to server, and then you have to type the domain controller in which you are logged in. I mean wherever you wanted to seize the role. Okay, from which machine you wanted to seize the role. So you have to be on the source domain controller, or I can say like you have to be on the target because source is shut down. Okay, so let's go here and yeah, this domain controller we are in. So just double click here. So the process would be same as the FSMO role transfer, but in place of transfer we would be using the parameter for seize the role. Okay, so I copied it here. If I go in the command prompt, we are just trying to bind this particular domain controller. Okay, now you can see that it's this domain particular domain controller is binded. Type Q, and then from here type seize schema master. Okay, okay, perfect. So as soon as I enter the seize schema master, I got this pop up, right? Do you want to transfer or seize the role from this particular domain controller? We said yes. Let's click on yes. So first it will try to gracefully transfer the roles. If that domain controller will not be on a network, then after this process, it will start seizing the roles. So we know, right? We know the scenario. Our domain controller is completely down and seizing we perform when our domain controller, the FSMO role domain controller is completely dead. Okay, so uh, let's see what will be the next step. So attempting to safe transfer of schema FSMO role Caesar. Okay, so first this particular domain controller is trying to gracefully. So till then it's getting transfer seize. Let me show you one more thing. So in one scenario, right? We have seen this scenario, but let me tell you one more scenario over here. Okay, so you got two machine again the same infrastructure DC1 and DC2. So this particular DC1 holds all this particular domain controller hold all FSMO roles. Okay, FSMO roles. All right. So this particular DC1 holds all the FSMO roles. So if this domain controller is down, right, there is some hardware issue, and after which this particular domain controller is completely went down, and then what you have to do is you have to avoid any further impact or downtime, you have to go on the DC2 and seize the roles whatever the roles are there in the DC1. In our case, in this particular scenario, we got all five roles in the DC1. So as soon as you seize the roles, all of the five roles would be starting, all of the users would be getting the all five roles information from here, and those five roles would start working as normal as it was when they were on the DC1. Okay, so so now you transfer the FSM role to this particular DC2. And what happened? Because, have you ever think like what happened if that particular domain controller is again back to the network? Have you ever think like this particular domain controller still don't know whether the FSMO roles has been seized or some other domain controller, owning the all five roles when I went to the last time down. So this domain controller is still while this starting, right? This domain controller still have all five roles. So when this particular machine will start, particular domain controller will start, it will firstly inbound uh, inbound the replication from DC2. So as soon as this particular machine, like you started this machine, or that machine is restored, but that machine, when the last time this machine was down, it was holding the all five FSMO roles, right? But there were a lot of confusion, like what happened in case of we sees the role sitting on the DC2 and after the DC1 come on the network. So what would be the impact in the environment? Because if you ask the normal administrator, so what they think like once the DC1 will restore, then both of the DC would start advertising as an FSMO holder, and that may or might encounter the various problem. But this is not true. So what happened is like as soon as your DC1 restore it, while the time of this particular machine start, it will pull the information from the DC2, and as soon as the DC1 knows, like the DC2 is advertising as an FSMO role holder, then DC1 will stop advertising itself as an FSMO holder. Okay, so not need to worry if you're able to restore even after the role seizure, so there is no worry at all. This particular domain controller will do the inbound replication, and after which this DC1 will stop advertising as a domain controller. Okay, so you can see, let's come to the screen. You can see this schema has been moved successfully. So how we can verify that? Net dom query fsmo. So now our all 5 roles should be on this particular domain controller, which is win191. Okay, so let's give it another 2 to 3 seconds to populate the information. All right, so you can see here, right? Schema master is on win191 VN, and same goes for the domain naming, PDC, RID pool, and infrastructure master. So we shut down our uh, domain controller, which was holding the schema master, but still we able to seize the role, and that role is on win 191 domain controller now, and this domain controller is particular domain controller is start advertising as a schema. So if that DC2, that mail DC which we shut down, if that DC will ever connect on the network, that DC will pull the information, inbound the replication from the DC win 191, and if the win 191 see the notification or the inbound replication that hey, I got the schema and all 5 roles in me, so the mail DC which we shut down, that will stop advertising as a schema master holder. Okay, so this is how you can seize the role. This is very important in order to perform any DR. When I'm saying DR means if there is any disaster in the environment, so these commands, you should, it should be very handy to you. Okay, and you should be very clear with the overall concept of this particular seizing process or transfer process. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope this particular recording session is very informative for you, and again, if you haven't subscribed the channel, kindly go ahead and subscribe it. And in the further recording session, I would be covering the global catalog, like what is the global catalog, how you can connect, and what all attributes are getting replicated when you make any domain controller as a global catalog. Thank you very much, and happy Independence Day, guys. It's a great day for us, right? So thank you very much, and hope you have a great Independence Day. Thank you very much.